guys, here come the dollies. They got fresh sinkers, hot coffee, and the sweetest smile.
Welcome back to the Clubmobile, everybody. This is the special Saturday edition of the Clubmobile. We're here for our quarterly book club recap.
Hi everyone. Good morning. It's always good morning. I've got to stop doing that. Always good morning. Anyway, joining us today is we haven't even given you an official title yet, Sage. Media correspondent, book correspondent.
Book club correspondent.
That's cute. I
That
like
works.
that.
I like that.
Anyway, we have our friend Sage joining us today. And every time we do one of these episodes, Sage will be joining us. So that's really exciting.
I'm very, very excited. Thank you all for having me.
Of course.
Sage is, as they say in Goodnight Irene, the third girl in the truck.
Yes, they are.
I'm honored. Oh my
The
gosh.
third chickie in the truck.
She is.
So if you have been keeping up with our posts on Instagram, you will know that we have had a book club going since around April.
April, yeah.
Time is a weird soup currently. And we chose 4 books. We chose Goodnight Irene. We chose Those Wonderful Women in Their Flying Machines. We chose Luck of the Draw, which we previously had an episode on with Frank's granddaughter, Chloe. And we also chose Spitfire Girls. So we had quite the range of all of our favorite things.
We did.
I guess all our favorite subjects.
We did. We covered quite a few different avenues of the war.
Absolutely.
Which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I feel like we covered like all bases for the first one. It was sort of like
it's a nice range.
I agree. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with our favorite, or do we want to start with
what was your favorite? Let's do that. So what was your favorite one?
Goodnight Irene was my favorite.
Mine too.
Did we all have the
Mine
same
too.
favorite? Yeah, we did. How did we feel about the ending?
Cried like a baby.
Oh yeah. Weeping.
It took me a solid 20 minutes to pull myself together at the end.
Yeah.
I was listening to it on the audiobook. I like listening to it on my way to and from work. And when I got home, I was just fully in tears.
In the car, like gripping the steering wheel, just
oh my
shaking.
gosh.
We should probably give a little synopsis as well in case people didn't read them but want to join next time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys go ahead. I'll just join in.
So Goodnight Irene is based on a true story. It's based on the true story of the author, Luis Alberto Urria's mother, who was part of the Red Cross Clubmobile service during the war. And it tells the story of Irene, who leaves her home really like a thief in the night. She leaves her home in the middle of the night in New York and heads down to DC to join up with the Red Cross. And it's her story of her and her Clubmobile partner, Dorothy, who she nicknames Darling Dot, which I think is just so
Very
sweet. It's their story of their travels through Europe during the war, starting from their time servicing at one air base and then going into Western Europe during the invasion and traveling like part of a convoy with the army. But I think it's essentially, I wouldn't say it's a love story. Would you say I wouldn't say it's a love story in the classical sense, but it's a love story in the friendship sense, I think.
Yeah, and like the kind of bonded together through this experience of you get a whole section of Irene and Dot hiding out in a house because they're being bombed.
They're essentially they're faced with the Germans in that house.
Yeah.
A German soldier chases them in. And it's, you're sitting there going, oh my God, I hope one of them doesn't. I hope neither one of them. But then like in the back of your head, you're like, no, there's still half a book left. Like,
yeah, it can't.
There has to be something.
Cut off.
Something's got to give. There's still half a book left, but oh my God, I hope nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's also the little parts of them sleeping under the truck, to be safe and I feel like they essentially lived the same lives as the men that they were serving
Yeah.
and cheering up. They did all
Yeah,
of that
right there
just to,
alongside them.
yeah, they did all of that just to keep these men happy because it was their job. Essentially, that's, the theme we always get with these books about women is that it was their job. But you can tell that even though these characters are based on real people, you can even get the sense from the fictional characters that they genuinely loved it. They genuinely loved each other. And that
Yes.
was what was so nice
Yeah.
about it. But the ending wrecked me, by the way. Like I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it to end
Mm.
the way that it did.
No.
And if
I
you
Yeah,
have
still
a I have a habit of, not a habit, but reading on the bus when I go to and from work. And I had gotten to a point at the end of it where like I had to get off the bus. I was home. And I
shaking.
came home and I like threw everything down. I was like, have to finish this
I've
book.
got to finish the
yeah,
got to get it done.
Like I have to finish this book.
Because you get so sucked into
Yes,
it and
you
so
do. It
yeah,
was one of
like
those stories where you get like you want to know, like, oh my God, are they okay? What happened to them after
yeah.
the war? Like, whew.
I fully
especially
marathon the last 10 chapters because I had to know what.
I like belt fed it. It was like midnight, 1 a.m. And I'm like, I can't sleep if I don't know what's gonna happen. And I ended up having to put it down and falling asleep at the part where, I mean, spoilers if you haven't read it, I guess.
Been out for a while. I mean,
Maybe mute me for a minute, I guess. But when they're driving in the clubmobile and Dot has the baby, and
oh,
then
Oh, yeah.
everything obviously literally blows up. I had to
Mhm.
like, it's 2 a.m. I can't, and I had to
I,
wait. I woke up at 5 to read the rest because I couldn't. I was like, this can't be how this ends.
oh,
It ruined me. It was
yeah.
so good. I loved it.
Oh,
but I feel like at that point you're thinking like, again, spoiler, you're thinking Irene makes it out, Dot's dead.
Yeah,
mm,
and all these years,
yeah.
All
Dot
these
thought the
years,
opposite.
Irene is
All
going through
this.
her life
Oh,
thinking Dot's dead.
Yeah.
mhm.
And then Dot's thinking the opposite of I
And then you
survived
find
with
out
this
you
baby.
turn the
Oh,
page, you get to the new chapter, and it's like post-war and it's
Yeah.
way down the line.
yeah.
Like maybe what was it, like 50 years,
Yeah. It
right?
threw
Mhm.
me. Yeah, it
50
threw
years
me.
later.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, she's not.
Because I also thought she was dead.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
you
Yeah.
turn it and it's like grandma, mother, and I'm like, hang on, who are we talking
Yeah.
to?
Who are we
I had to
I
talking
throw it.
about?
it said Dorothy, and that just fully threw me because, like, wait,
Yes.
no.
Wait a minute, she just died.
And I texted Winnie and I was like, I'm at the end of this book. I was like, I'm at the end of the book. I was like, is she not dead?
I was like, no, she's not.
And Winnie goes, just keep reading.
Just keep, yeah, you have to just keep
It's
going.
like,
Keep
that's not
reading.
helping me. I'm
Uh, it
crying. It's not
it
helping.
it threw me for a
Oh,
loop, and I
hmm.
wasn't expecting a plot twist in a book like this. Usually you think mystery or like
Yeah. Yeah.
fantasy, you get a big plot twist that leaves you kind of choked, but
Yes.
having one in something like this, I loved it. I really loved it. And if we get a chance to speak to the author, I will be sat here for an hour just it was so good. I loved it.
I think it did remind me, like, at the end, they find each other at the end 50 years later,
Yeah.
and they're both
Hmm.
in disbelief that the other is alive. And Irene, as soon as she sees Dot on her doorstep, like she perks up and you can like kind of see she's like, oh my God, she's that young girl again. And she's like, you're
Yeah.
never gonna believe what I have. I have my
Yes.
Foot Locker. I think the moral of and the end of the book reminded me that it's important to tell your friends you love them
Mm.
often,
Hmm.
All the time and be
all the time.
insufferable about it, which
Yes,
is
but
kind of what
it's
we do.
important to
Yes.
tell your friends and the people in your life that you care about that you love them,
Yeah.
because you never
Hmm.
know.
You could go 50 years
Yeah.
thinking that the other one's dead. You just never know. Life's funny that way.
I know where you both live.
Yeah.
Come on.
Literally, if anyone disappears, I know exactly where everyone
Yes.
lives. This is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
But I think that was the one that we consistently scored
5 stars.
on,
Yes, I
that
gave
we
that 5
reviewed very
stars.
well.
I think I reviewed every book for the most part.
I
Well,
think I did, yeah, apart from the one that we
the
will
one that
get
I didn't
to.
finish.
There was one that Gabby and I didn't finish, but Sage did. So I guess if we're here,
Since we're here.
since we're here, the second choice was Spitfire Girls by Soraya M. Lane. And I was very excited to read it because I believe Harriet Leach mentioned it. So
Harriet
we
Leach
were
mentioned
like,
it, but I'm not sure if this is actually the book she meant.
but we'll figure it out.
But we'll figure it out. That we'll figure out. But I was very excited to read it because it was about the ATA. It was about the women of the ATA. And I was like, oh, this would be great. I haven't really read much on the ATA, consistently reading about the WASP, but I haven't really read much on their British counterpart, right? Which is basically they're doing the same jobs, just on 2 different continents.
Mhm.
My copy of the book had a lot of typos.
And a lot of font
And
changes
a lot of
halfway
Yeah.
the font
through.
got big, the font got small, and I found it kind of difficult to engage with it. And this is not to
Yeah.
say that the guts of the book or the topic were bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a
It just
bad
was a
book.
difficult, it might have been something I
Yeah.
might have finished or enjoyed more had I done it on an audiobook. Because I wouldn't
Yeah.
have had to
Yeah.
focus so much on the words getting big and small and the typos
Yeah.
and whatever.
Mhm.
But Sage, you finished it.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the general gist?
Um,
Just a little spark notes.
yeah. So from what I remember, full disclosure, it has been a little over a month since I read it. So take all of this with a grain of salt. But but from what I remember, it was about this girl, American girl, leaving to join the ATA over in England, because there wasn't a program of that kind yet in the US. So this very headstrong American girl goes to join the ATA over in England and sort of clashes with the British ladies over there. But yeah, and it's all about, when I remember, how these ladies just working to get the recognition they deserve as part of the war effort, and just trying to get equal pay and just basic recognition alongside their male counterparts.
From
And
what I've read about, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. There was a little bit of romantic subplot.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it was very
I
cute.
love that. From what I've read about the ATA is that they had a lot more freedom than the WASP. Was that kind of prevalent in I know that obviously this was fictional, but I would hope to think that that was a bit more prevalent in
I think
this
so.
version.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't talk about the wasp much
Right.
in this book. So you couldn't really get that comparison. But just knowing what I know, I think there was that.
Yeah.
The ATA had a little bit more freedom than.
Was the romance kind of like a case of what we saw in Goodnight Irene, where they joined up in random spots and sort of fell in love, and then he is assumed missing, or is it do they remain together in the end?
Well, there are actually a couple different romantic subplots. There's the one girl the American girl who joins the ATA, her fiance is an Air Force pilot. So she gets to meet up with him at a couple different bases.
That's cute.
And it's very
I
cute.
like that.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
And then it's the I guess sort of the leader of their ATA squadron has a little bit of a slow burn going with her mechanic.
I did kind of spot that at the beginning.
Okay.
The little
I
bit
got
I
as far
read,
as that where I was like, oh, maybe she's gonna.
maybe there's something.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something with the mechanic.
There's a
Maybe we
little bit of
should go
something.
back and read it. Maybe we should do the audiobook and just sort
I'm
of
gonna give the audio, yeah, because it sounds
squint.
like it sounds like something that I would enjoy. I mean, who doesn't love history with a little bit of romance on the side?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I'm gonna suss out the audiobook because I do want to finish it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave
It's
it
not a
like,
case of I hated the book. I
yeah,
just
that wasn't it at all. There
it
was
wasn't
just
it.
something
The
in,
storyline is
Especially like
awesome.
the
It's
topic
Yeah.
of it, like that's right up our alley.
yeah,
Mhm.
but the
It
font
does sound like the
changes was
ATA
weird.
though. Yeah. It does sound like the ATA had a little bit more freedom than the Girls of the Wasp. And
They
that's saying the
did.
Girls of the Wasp that came out of Sweetwater, Texas, not the girls who fell under Nancy Love. This is the
Mm,
girls who came out of what was the nickname of Cochrane's convent.
yeah.
The ones who trained up at Sweetwater and then graduated, which I guess is a nice segue into Wonderful Women and Their Flying Machines.
It's hefty. Sage, did you get to read that one as well?
I could not find it. My library didn't have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
For some
I
reason,
have
it's
put
a
in a
really rare
request at my
find.
library. So
We'll get it later.
It's a
yes.
great book. It is hefty. Yes, that's the word for it.
She's big.
Mhm.
It's dense. It reads partially. There's parts of it that read like a story where you get like one girl's story
Yeah.
or like one particular group of girls, like the girls who were training to fly B-17s after they graduated. But a lot of it also is like it's dense history. It's almost, I would say, like reading Masters of the Air.
Yeah, because it's a little about
It's a
everything
little
and
about everything. So you get
everyone.
a lot of Jacqueline Cochrane's history,
Mhm.
Nancy Love. There's a lot of like Hap Arnold and military history in there. So it is a thick, heavy book, but knowing what we know about the Wasp, and I really enjoyed it. I lugged that book in my purse to work every day for 2 weeks.
It's heavy.
And it's heavy. But the book came recommended to us, believe it or not, the book came recommended to us by Katie Park.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't remember or don't know, Katie Park is the daughter of Josephine Pitts Egan and John Egan. So Josephine was a WASP and John obviously flew with the 100th Bomb Group during the war. And she recommended it to us because her mom was on the cover.
And she's in
And
one of the
she's
pictures
in one of the
in the
photos in the
inside.
book. So there's photos
Yeah.
of Josie Pitts Egan in the book and on the cover. But I was very upset to find that there was no
She's not
mention of her in the
mentioned.
book.
What?
I know,
Yeah,
there's
we
no
like,
mention of Josie in the book. Meanwhile, they do a whole chapter, and the chapters are pretty long. Whole chapter on the lucky 13 who learned to fly the B-17s after graduating from Avenger Field. And I remember Katie very clearly telling us that yes, Josie did train on the B-17s. She was one of those women.
and then she's not
And then
mentioned
she's
by
not
name.
mentioned. I mean, even though Josie preferred to fly pursuits
Mm.
over bombers,
She still
she left the
was.
bombers to her husband. She preferred the pursuits. I still would have loved to have, and I get it. There were so many women who were part of the WASP program.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So many women, but they were all as equally important, and they all gave so much. And the end of it had me crying. The end of this one had me crying too.
We're just crying all the time,
Because
guys. We're
it's,
just
the book ends
always.
on the women finally being recognized as military veterans as part of the
Yeah.
Air Force. And it's like you're sitting there and you're weeping and you're like, and they're
They
in
finally
their
did it.
50s and their 60s and they're down in Sweetwater, Texas again, and they're having a reunion for the first time ever in 30
And
years.
they're all singing.
And they're singing their songs that they used to sing when they would march out to the flight line every day when they were in training. And it's like, really gets you.
It really does.
Gosh,
It
I have
really
Maybe
does
I'm
get
just
you.
getting, maybe I'm just getting older and everything just gets me
It's just
these
making me
days.
cry. Yeah.
Were you thinking that? Or you're getting old?
I'm just getting old and
We're just
crying
getting
at
older
everything.
and crying at everything. But it really was one of my favorite stories of the Wasp that we've read so far.
I also love this habit we've developed of every time we get a book about the Wasp, we're instantly at the back in the index looking
looking for the names that we recognize.
looking for Josie, we're looking for Hazel, we're looking for Marie. just to
Yes.
see if there's like a specific part on any woman that we
Have
recognize.
recognized or researched
Yeah,
or
I I loved because I didn't look at the pictures beforehand. I believe we had the picture of Josie that's in the book that
yes.
I think Katie sent to us for Women's History Month.
Yeah, we did
Um,
have that one.
so when I was like flicking through the pictures and I saw it, I was like, she's there, but she's not named and she's not in the index and she's not.
We had both pictures, the one that's on the cover and the
Yes.
one that's in the book.
Yeah, I didn't get one with a dust cover because I paid like $3 for it on Thrift Books. I'm just
I
trying to save
paid
some
the
money,
same. I
lads.
think I paid like $7 for it on Thrift Books.
Yeah,
Mine came autographed. Whoever thrifted it to Thrift Books, it was autographed by
the author,
was autographed by the author.
Sally.
But whoever you are that thrifted it, you thrifted an autographed copy. So I thank you for that.
We seem to keep getting that
Yeah,
the autographed copies. I got another Wasp diary from I believe eBay or something, and it's signed by the author.
really? Which one
And
is
I
Wow.
this that you
um
got?
I've forgotten the name because I
Great.
bought so many books
Great.
recently. Um, but it will probably end up on one of the next
Probably
book
will.
clubs because it's so small and so concise, and it was
Yeah.
like two
Looking
or
forward to
three
it.
dollars.
Okay. Then I'm gonna look
I'll
for it.
send you the link. I'll send you the link. It's fine. Send everyone the link and we'll all buy it. It's very concise and it's again, it's just diary entries.
I was
I
Which I
love
love.
that.
I did love the history bits that were in this book, like
Yeah.
learning about like what was going on behind the scenes with the Wasp, like outside of Adventurefield, like what was going on behind closed doors with Hap Arnold.
Yeah.
He really was, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who really spread himself really thin during the war. That's
Too
the guy.
thin, I would
That's the guy.
argue. Hap Arnold
Mhm.
spread himself too thin, and I think that that is why the Wasp suffered. The program itself suffered in the end because he was spread so thin that he didn't have time, which is why they
Yeah.
disbanded it.
I know we talked about this with Dr. Kate when we had her on back in April.
Mm,
And we talked about the women with silver wings. I know we talked about how it really wasn't Jackie Cochran's fault that the
yeah.
Wasp were disbanded
Mm,
and not militarized, but you start reading different books from different perspectives, and you start to think, did her constant chipping away at people, and did it
poking.
help? Did it hurt? She
Yeah.
shielded the Wasp for so long, right?
Yeah.
No press, no this, no that. She shielded these girls for so long that I almost feel like maybe letting the world kind of know who they were would have benefited them more in the end.
Yeah. And I think as well that she kind of hindered them by, I know during the time of the WASP program, she was very sick. She had multiple surgeries over the
Yes.
years. I can guess she probably had no fight left, but to then turn around and essentially say that a woman's place is at home,
After you
taking care
fought
of a
for so
family
long.
after you fought for so long, and also you yourself don't adhere to that expectation.
Right.
You're still flying, you're competing, you've said to all these women that I'm disbanding the program because the men are coming home and they need someone to look after them. When you're there married to one of the richest men in the country at the time, and
Right.
you also don't stick to that expectation. I I I, I don't
Yeah.
I don't. It's iffy. And then the more stuff that I've read, like I recently read Spitfires by Becky Aikman, and Jackie's mentioned a lot in that as well. And finding out more and more about her, I don't want to say I dislike someone who's no longer with us, but I'm getting such an ick. Is that bad? I'm getting a bit
It's not
iffy about
bad because I
Jackie.
know, again, like we said, her and Nancy Love, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to feel a specific way. You're not like shaming her,
No, no,
but
but I just,
I think, and this is why it's so important to read, and it's so important to avail yourself to the history that's out
yeah,
there, and to really learn about the history of our country, of the war, of this and that, is that history might paint somebody with a brush and say, Yes,
Yeah.
she founded the Wasp, or yes, she was a pilot. But if you read into history, right? It's like never judge a book by its cover.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah.
Looks great on the outside, but if you dive into it and you start to actually read the history and not just like the biography of the person, you might find out, as we are,
Yeah.
way more.
For example, like if you read one of Jackie Cochran's biographies or autobiographies, you're
Mhm.
going to get a very twisted narrative, I would say, in quotes, because she herself didn't even write it. She had
Right.
someone else write one, and then her niece wrote
Wrote the
one and
other.
released one posthumously.
Yes.
So of course you're
Mm.
going to get this good side of this woman. I'm not saying she wasn't a trailblazer or that she wasn't a badass. She
She won the Bend.
was.
Didn't she win the Bendix race in
She
38?
did,
She
yeah.
won the Bendix race in
And then
1938, which is
broke
amazing.
the sound barrier after
Right.
the war. But then you get like this very twisted narrative. And then in the book that we're talking about, Wonderful Woman in the Flying Machines, you get a very cut and dry um version of her because it's
Yes.
historically accurate, but you
Yes.
don't really get like the rumors or the gossip in this. Which is, I think that's what made it enjoyable learning more of the history as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
the Jackie versus Nancy. There was like a tiny element of it where it definitely said one wanted to be the leader, the other one also wanted to be the leader, and
Which is why they
Hap
broke it up into
chose,
two different divisions.
yeah, and then Hap chose whoever thought he was best. But yeah, in other books that I've been reading, there's a lot more about Jackie that probably wasn't supposed to be known.
That
But
makes sense.
in this, you get a very like a not in-depth version of her. You just get this woman who was a leader and wanted to be a leader and would not let anyone get in her way. And it's the same for Nancy Love as well in this book. I loved
Yeah.
how it was put into different sections,
Yes.
essentially. You got
Mhm.
like a whole lot of military history on top of the history of these women and what they got up to.
Mm-hmm.
There was also some romance in this one, weirdly enough, even though it was more of a biography. Like you get people getting married
Oh yeah.
halfway through, like, you
Hmm.
know, because it was the war, obviously. You're gonna have people
Married very quickly because
married
of the
very
war.
quickly. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
They just
married
got
very
married
quickly
very
because of the
quick.
war.
Yeah. Which I again found very sweet. I like how they put that in. It made them seem
More human.
more human, more real, you know, even though we're all fighting this war, there's still time to
Yeah.
have some
Mhm.
happiness and fall in love and whatever else. Um, but yeah, I think I rated this one four and a bit stars,
I think I gave it
maybe.
5.
I think I gave it four and a bit because after a while I'm like, will I ever get to the end? Because
4
it
and a
is such a
bit.
tome.
It did take
I
me a while to get through this one, I will admit. I started reading it in April and then I was like, oh, it's a lot. And I put it aside for a bit and read something else. And then I finally
mm,
came back to it. And then once you get past a certain point,
it's
you
like
blow right through it.
off we go.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Once you get past a
easy.
certain point, you could blow right through it. It's a very easy read, but you have to get
Very, very easy.
through, you almost have to knuckle through like the deep rooted history at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Mhm.
Amelia Earhart and the Wright brothers, and it kind of
Oh
gives you the
yeah.
history of
Oh,
flight at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Which
it's
is
like,
really
sounds
cool.
very
which, yeah, it's
collected.
very
Yeah.
cool.
But you're like, when do I get to these
When do I
women
get
that
to
I
the
want to
Wasp?
know
And there
about?
is a bit of ATA in there as well.
Yes,
There
because they mentioned
is.
that
They mentioned the
Jackie was
American
with
girl. Jackie flew first
the ATA
bomber overseas,
first.
and she dropped it off for the ATA. And she did. She brought the American girls over for the ATA.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they were all there, Jackie went back home to the States and literally like begun to found the Wasp
Yeah. She
program,
kind of left and bulldozed her way
which wasn't Wasp
back
at the
in.
beginning. With
No, it was the ferrying division.
Woof, what did they call them? Wooftids.
Wooftids, something like
Wooftids.
that.
The girls called each other Wooftids.
Which I found very cute. It was nice. But yes, I enjoyed it. It
I
was just
did.
very big and
It
very
was a big
long.
book.
Hmm.
I always
But
feel a sense of pride after I finish a big book. I'm like,
big thick one. Yeah. But Sage, if you can't find it, I'll just mail you my copy.
Thank you.
No,
It's just
really.
easier
I
that way.
appreciate it.
It's just easier rather than like waiting on thrift
Mhm.
books and stuff. I'll just mail you mine.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Um, the last one
Last but not
was
least,
definitely not least,
Definitely not.
Luck of the Draw by Frank Murphy.
loved it.
I
That's our
loved
new
this one.
pal.
I loved Frank's book. And I know I said this when we had Chloe on a few weeks ago, but it was like sitting and talking to a friend.
Yeah, it was like he was
Absolutely.
sat
Yeah.
across from you and he was just telling you all of these
Hmm.
Amazing
stories, and
stories.
he's funny. He's so funny.
Yes.
But not in like a self-deprecating way like Harry Crosby is in his book. He's
No.
Frank's more dry. He's very
Yes.
funny.
Yeah.
And I feel like he found joy wherever he could, because ultimately
Hmm.
him and his crew get shot down. He's
Right.
in a prisoner of war for a
Hmm.
number of years. Um, Again, I wish that we had had more of this story in Masters of the Air. I kind of feel like we were robbed. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
But reading the part where Frank has to bail out of the plane, um, and he's essentially knocked out for a moment. Didn't he fall off the desk and like he's all kind of
Yes.
dazed,
Yeah.
isn't he? And someone telling him, no, we're jumping, we're
Like,
getting
no, we're
out.
jumping, we're going.
Hmm.
And I was like, I know what's going to happen, but I was so tense reading it, like, because
Yeah.
I can see it. Um,
Yeah, I think the reason why it's like, you know, it's going to happen, you know, this is the mission, they're going to bail out, but you're tense reading it. And I think it's because we never saw it happen. So now it's like, oh my God, like,
Now
how
I
did
can
it
see it
happen for them?
happening
Right?
for
Like, how
you.
Yeah.
did it happen for
Yeah.
Hmm.
you? That's the part that I was like, had the book in my hands. I was like, oh my God.
Sage, did you read it or did you do the audiobook?
I did the audiobook.
With
With Joe,
Jonas?
with
Yes.
Jonas,
Oh
yes.
my God. I love
And
that they
he
did
he
that.
was
So
so good. It
for
was
those of
so
you who
good.
don't know, Jonas Moore, who portrayed Frank Murphy in Masters of the Air, also did the recording of the audiobook for Luck of the Draw. So if you're not big on sitting with a book in your lap, Sage, was the audiobook worth it?
Absolutely, yes. I
I love that Chloe had the idea to have Jonas come in and read as her
Yes.
so
granddad,
sweet.
because he
Yes.
became her granddad, and she takes such pride in that. It
She's
was
so
my
proud of her
idea.
grandfather.
It was
Yes.
my idea, and
Yes.
he had all this vocal training, and why waste it? She said, I can't do it because I'm not a man. I don't have the right
Right?
voice for it. And she
Hmm.
said, who's gonna do it? Obviously, it's gonna be Jonas Moore. Um, and he did. So like the clips
Such a
that I've
wonderful
He did
heard,
job.
amazing. Yeah. Like
yeah,
like Gabby, what you said about it feeling like sitting down talking with a friend, the audiobook I feel like is that times 100 because you really get to
yeah.
hear it's
I want to
it's so
almost
good.
like do the audiobook just to like not to compare it because obviously it's the same story, but just to see like, you know, do you get the same warm feeling? Does it, like you said, intensify? Like, I mean, Jonas is wonderful.
Oh yeah, he's so sweet.
He
He's so
is.
sweet. I mean, and he said when I met him back in April, he said he goes, I could talk about Frank Murphy's book. I could talk about it forever. And I feel like doing the audiobook for him was probably something just so special. After reading it to do
Mm,
research and then
Hmm.
getting to do the audiobook,
yeah.
like that's just so special.
I can bet that he's
Yeah.
really, really proud of it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
it was again, it was an easy 5 stars, probably
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like he's my friend now. Just based on the book,
Definitely. Yeah.
I feel like he's my little pal. Sage, what did you think of it?
I thought it was amazing. I like what you said. Frank is definitely my best friend now.
Yes. That's like the feeling you get because
Yes.
you find out so much about him, and you really get in depth with how he was feeling while imprisoned. Um and knowing that he left his friends to join the band in
Oh,
Style Like Love
yes.
3. What a
Oh,
guy. He was like, I want to make
yeah.
other people happy and play
Mhm.
music, but it means leaving my friends. And he didn't he hesitates a tiny bit, obviously.
Yes, he puts in for the transfer, not realizing it.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
even says, I didn't see my friends again until after the war.
Ugh,
Oh,
that part.
Oh,
Oof.
which is why I like so much as I wish Masters of the Air was more historically accurate now, knowing what we know, I'm glad that they in the show kept them all together because I
Yeah.
feel like that was their intention. The real guys, that was we're gonna stick together, we're gonna be
Hmm.
going through this forever together.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're bonded by this. And then to know that actually the real Frank just wanted to play his clarinet. And I
He
can,
says I couldn't let the guys in the band down.
yeah, I could almost see
Yeah.
like the Christmas concerts in my head where Frank's playing, and I could see in my head Crank and Brady and Egan
Mhm.
being like, yay, it's Frank. Because you can, like, if you think of the men that
Yes.
portrayed them, you can see it.
Yes.
Especially,
Absolutely.
especially Callum as Egan. You
Yeah.
can you can hear him
I saw him.
cheering. You can hear him yelling across the room that it's Frank, it's Murphy. Um, so as upset as that part made me, I also found great
Mhm.
joy in pretending that they'd all go watch him play his clarinet.
It really gives you the quality of the quality of man that he was.
Yeah,
Like
for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm not letting anybody down. We're all stuck in here and you know, we're already all disappointed that we're here. Why add more? Like, why add
Yeah,
insult to injury? Why make somebody
yeah.
else
Yeah.
why let somebody else down? I'm here, I'm doing this, and this is what I chose, and I'm gonna see it through.
I'm here regardless,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah.
And he was
He
um
was loyal.
very loyal, yes, and
Absolute.
he
Yeah.
didn't let it get to him. He didn't There's no obvious part where you're like, "Oh my God, this man's going insane." He just kind of let it happen. He sort of knew that it was
Mhm.
part of the course. There's never a moment where he's full of hate or, he's
Yeah.
vengeful.
Right.
He's just, I'm here and
I'm
this
gonna
is
make
what
the best of it.
happened.
I think
Yeah.
the only bit of that we saw was when he was talking about that one letter to his mom, where he
Mm.
sort of says, like, I said some things that I'm not super proud of.
Yes.
Yes. He doesn't disclose it, does he? He said,
I don't think so.
I wrote to my mom and I'm not gonna share it because it's kind of mean. I think he
Yeah.
was just having a moment, which,
It was just valid.
understandable.
Very valid.
Yeah. And like Chloe said, when she reads the letters, and obviously they're in the original book too,
Hmm.
when she read them, he's mostly asking for chocolate and socks.
Yeah.
And he says that he feels very selfish and greedy because he knows they don't have much at the moment, but he has even less. And he said that he felt kind of spoilt to be like, I need this, I need that, because he'd been independent for years. He'd been overseas for, at this point, 2, 3 years.
Yeah.
Um, so, and then, yeah, Chloe said that she found that very sweet that he's like, I just really need socks. Can you send me socks? And she said that she found that very cute that he felt
Mhm.
selfish and greedy. He's wearing some socks, it was cold.
I know.
It's very sweet. He's very personable,
Yes. He comes
Yeah.
across as very like that he was a very
Mhm.
personable guy.
like
Yeah.
a good man. Absolutely. I think again
Hmm.
it was an easy 5 stars.
Easy 5 stars, easy
Absolute.
read.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
it was very easy to read, and I loved
Yeah.
that he put in, you know, uh definitions and graphs,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I
Yeah. He
found
didn't
that
just
very
leave you wondering
interesting.
what things meant.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like when in some books I've read about Purple Heart Corner or Coffin Corner, as they nicknamed it,
Yeah.
when they're in formation and in flying the bombers. Frank has put graphs and maps and
Hmm.
Hmm.
itineraries are in the back of the book, and schedules and things like
Yeah.
that. So if you're reading
Yeah.
about a mission, you can flip to one of the appendixes
Yeah.
and
And
say,
see,
oh,
like, what time was
this is what
briefing, what
this means.
time
Yeah,
was, yeah.
Hmm.
which I found really, really cool. And I think we could benefit from that a lot more from other people,
Yeah.
truly. Because as easy as it is to Google things now, I felt again that, Frank really took care of who was going to read it. Because you could read it as someone with no knowledge of this war
Hmm.
or the air war,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you would then be educated very easily. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed
Mhm.
that about it.
Yeah.
Even though it made my head hurt a tiny bit because I'm like, oh my God.
I'm not gonna lie, because that part is also in the audiobook.
Does Jonas
So
just read it?
yeah,
Oh.
so so it goes from like the story
Mm.
to then just all of these seemingly random words. It took me a second to figure out
To
what was
realize
happening.
what it was.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But once I
Oh,
realized, I was like, oh, that's such a nice little thing.
yeah, to have the little things in there. But
Yeah.
I love that Jonas just sat and
Yeah.
obviously just read it. I love that for him. That's very
Yeah.
sweet.
What a
But yeah,
guy.
what a guy. Him,
What a guy.
Frank and Jonas,
Yeah.
very
Hmm.
similar vibes, very
Yeah.
similar auras.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
honestly, I feel like we're just Jonas's little fan club at this point. Sorry, Jonas. All we do
Chloe,
is,
what did we say with Chloe? We were the official Jonas Moore fan club.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he's just a sweet little guy,
He
and he
is.
was
He's
the
a very sweet, he's a
Yes.
very sweet guy.
perfect guy to play Frank.
Hmm.
From what we know and what we've read in his book and others,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's a good man. But yeah, I think that brings us to the end of our first quarter of the book club. This has been really fun.
This was great.
This is so fun. I love this.
I'm excited to do it again and again and again.
Yes.
Truly,
Yes.
everyone should stay tuned. We have a great list
We do.
coming up for next quarter.
So
Can't wait.
for next quarter, we're going to be reading 4 books again, and this is going to go from July 1st to September 30th. We are reading American Fly Girl, which is the story of WASP Hazel Ying Lee. Damn Lucky, which is the story of John Lucky Luckadoo as part of the 8th Air Force Non-Div Bomb Group. We're also reading Dear Mother and Daddy by Marie Mountain Clark, who was a WASP during World War II. And to round it out and bring it back home to the Clubmobile, War Through the Whole of a Donut.
Which I've already
So,
started, and it's
I
very
have
good.
too. Yes, it's great. And we won't give more than that away.
We'll just say that they're
It's
all very
great,
sweet
and
picks.
yes, they're all very fun picks, and a little bit here and a little bit there. So grab your books, get your audiobooks set up, and happy reading, guys.
Yeah. Thank you,
Yes.
Sage, for joining us.
Yes, thank you
This
so
is
for having
much.
fun.
me.
I
This
love
is so,
having
so
you with
fun.
us.
Our book club correspondent.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone,
Thanks
and we
everybody for
hope you
Thanks,
listening,
enjoyed
everyone.
it.
and we'll catch you on
Bye.
the next one. Bye.
Bye.